Midlife crisis or midlife chrysalis. Emerge as your wealthiest self. So it's time to unleash your potential and prosper. My name is Tracy Montgomery, and I talk about all things menopause, midlife, and all the crap that goes with it. In particular, I want to talk about how your midlife transition, your menopausal transition, can affect you financially and what you can potentially do about it. So, what's been happening? We've got what we know to be a midlife crisis. We know that some of this is going to be a biological factor because if you're female, majority of you watching are going to be female. You're going to have gone through at some point the menopause transition. So you're going to have gone through that menopausal shit show. You know, the hormones are doing one, packing up their little suitcases and they're off. So your brain has this difficulty of coping. Your brain's got used to your hormones being there, and then all of a sudden, these hormones are doing one. So your brain can't cope, doesn't know what it's doing. Now, you also get physical effects. So physically, you know, the symptoms, the hot sweats, the flushing, all of those sort of things. And they can affect you as a person. They can affect your day to day. They can affect how you manage yourself. But also there's the psychological effects. Your brain has not got those nurture hormones hanging around anymore. So it's not sure what to do. It's not sure how to cope. And you, being female, you are here to nurture. That's what we're here for. We're to have more of ourselves and nurture them, to take over. And that's now not happening. So we can have this midlife crisis. So it manifests itself differently in men than it does in females. And females often struggle through this time because the expectations are slightly different. So we come to midlife, and in our masculine corporate world, our masculine industrial world, it's when you should be hitting your pinnacle. You should be becoming management. However, that corresponds with when women hit another vulnerable stage. We have a lot of these vulnerable stages. As teenagers, we're quite vulnerable. When we go through pregnancy, we're vulnerable. And then when we're going through the perimenopause, we're also vulnerable. And that can go on after perimenopausal stage. Remember, after the perimenopausal stage, we become postmenopausal and we stay postmenopausal until we shuffle off. Sorry, that's how it is. And some of those symptoms can continue. So this understanding that this midlife becomes a short, we get over it. Not necessarily, it can continue. So what we need to be able to establish is what's going on. We've established that it's our hormones, they're doing one. We then need to come up with coping strategies. So these coping strategies are what give us our chrysalis state. So we're going to start transforming ourselves. We are going to recognize what is happening to us, and we're going to put in place these strategies that are going to allow us to continue at the same or maybe even above or different level. So what we also need to take on board is that we don't need to follow the norm. There is no norm anymore. So I often hear this conversation that we're told when we're in school, you're going to get a job, you're going to stay in that job, you're going to stay there for 30 odd years, 40 years, you're going to retire. I was never given that narrative. Maybe in school I was, but I totally ignored it. But by my parents, I wasn't given that narrative. Now, it might be because my father was more entrepreneurial. Yeah, he had different jobs. Yes, he did different things. He set up his own business and he stayed in that business, though. However, his mindset was slightly different to some of his friends who were working in the same career. And we see the same thing now. So my dad was of the opinion that if you buy something, you buy it once, so you buy the best quality, which is a bit different to the, oh, that's only, I'll buy it, doesn't matter if it breaks. So they're different mindsets to start off with. He was also of the mindset that you did things that made you feel good. And that's what we need to grasp now as we go through, whether we want to call it a midlife crisis or not, whether we want to call it our perimenopausal stage, whatever we want to call this transition, grasping the things that make us feel good is going to help us come out the other side. So what we have to also take on board is that our life is not on one path. No matter what route we have taken, whether we've been in the same job, whether we've taken different jobs, there is no one path. That does not exist. It can't do, because we don't know what's going to be thrown at us. We've seen that in the last few years, haven't we? So in the last few years, we've had a huge upheaval to the whole world. We're now in the middle of this life crisis where people are saying, look at me generalizing again, the media are saying we are having financial crises. And yet, let me throw this one at you. During the pandemic, you know, when we were all locked down and we weren't meant to do everything, 5 million more millionaires. 5 million millionaires. Short time. Go to those people that took those opportunities, and our mindset changed. So a lot of what we talk about in midlife and how we should behave, how we should be, is the perception that's given to us by the general, by the populace, by the media. Do we have to follow that? No. Can we change the narrative? Yes, we can. So we can start using tools to change our daily life. So I often talk about journaling, I often talk about planning. They're things that are external. We can put those down, we can plan what we're going to do daily. We can then start visualizing how we want our life to be. And we can start looking at different ways to change our financial future. Now, the majority of these millionaires that are out there now in the wide world have more than one income source. So think about it. If you rely on that one income source, now we see all the time that big companies, big firms, we've had the banking crises when banks collapsed. So the people working in that bank lost their one source of income. So why not have more than one? The general rule is that the millionaires, the billionaires have 7 different income strands. Now you can make and you can change those income strands so that they work around what you're doing, your skill sets, what you're comfortable with doing. Remember, it's all about making you feel good. If you're not comfortable about doing something, do something else. There are so many opportunities out there. Now, obviously, I'm talking to you because I have some opportunities that you can fit around your lifestyle. If they're not for you, they're not for you. But you're not going to know until we have that discussion. Yes, they're going to need you to do things that you probably haven't done, but they will be plugging into the skill sets that you have. Talking to people. If you're happy talking to people, and you probably are happy talking to people, you're probably happy going down to the shops and talking to people. You're probably happy at the school gates and talking to people. You're probably happy going to the bingo and talking to people. If you can do that, you can do any one of these opportunities that I offer you. So those of you that are looking for a different financial future, let's talk. drop me a message below and we'll talk about the opportunities that I have available for you. I will try to look at the camera. It's really disconcerting because I've got a new camera. I don't know where it is. Don't know what I'm looking at. Don't know where I'm looking. See, I'm looking at me. I'm looking at me, but my camera's there. It's weird. Anyway, I am still Tracy Montgomery. I talk about all things menopause, midlife, and all. I have opportunities that can help and assist you and change your trajectory, your future. Talk to me, drop a comment below. We'll talk soon. Bye for now.